Welcome to Takeaway with Sam Oches, a podcast for leaders of growing restaurant companies looking to take their businesses to the next level. In nearly 2 decades covering restaurants, I've gained access to some of this industry's most influential decision makers, and I'm letting you in on the conversations. In today's episode, you'll hear from the founder and head chef of a Tampa-based hospitality group about the power of creating family-like atmosphere in your restaurants and about why multi-concept portfolios are key to letting your creativity fly. Jim Rehm is the founder of Pineapple Hospitality Group, while Jessica Tomlinson is the vice president of culinary. Pineapple owns 5 going on 6 restaurants in the Tampa area, and the restaurants flourish on homey atmosphere that Jim has been developing over the course of his nearly 50-year career in restaurants. In fact, Jim believes so much in restaurants treating guests like family that most of his actual family is involved in the pineapple hospitality business. Jessica, meanwhile, is a veteran of restaurant chains that was brought in last year to further fuel the culinary creativity across Pineapple's 5 concepts. I recently sat down with Jim and Jessica inside their restaurant, Craft Street Kitchen and Drinks, to talk about their commitment to hospitality and creativity and how it's helped them through this challenging economy. In this conversation, you'll learn more about why the first 30 seconds that a guest is in your restaurant are among the most important, why great hospitality starts at the job interview, and why you're writing a new story to share with your guests every time you launch a new concept. If you learned something from this episode, go follow Takeaway wherever you listen to podcasts and leave some feedback. It's the best way to get these lessons into the hands of your fellow restaurant leaders. Jumping now into my interview with Pineapple Hospitality Group's Jim Rehm and Jessica Tomlinson. Also, don't forget to stick around after the interview as I will share my 5 takeaways from this discussion, actionable insights that you can take with you on the go. Okay, I'm sitting down with Jim Rehm and Jessica Tomlinson of Pineapple Hospitality Group. Guys, thanks for taking some time out of your Friday morning to sit down with me.
It's an honor to have you here. Thank you very much for coming in.
So this is a beautiful restaurant. Tell me about the restaurant that we're in right now.
Well, Craft Street Kitchen, Oldsmar, has been here for approximately 10 years now. And it was created from a BD's Mongolian.
Okay.
Landlord came up to us and said, hey, I got a great spot for you. Are you interested in taking it over? We came down and looked at the area. Oldsmar is an incredible town. The shopping center was big, great parking. It needed a lot of work. And we said, yeah, this is a great spot. So that's where we got here. We built it with a lot of reclaimed materials and put it in as your local neighborhood restaurant. And it's been great ever since. I mean, we have so many regulars here and the neighborhood appreciates us.
Sure.
It's just a great spot.
So I think we got to start, though, at the beginning, which is are you a lifelong restaurateur? How long have you been in this industry?
I've been in this industry 47 years at this point.
Congrats.
Yeah, maybe.
And where did it start? Well, where did it start? Go take me back to the beginning.
So it started up in New York. I had a friend whose dad was in the pizza dough and syrup business. And he was opening a pizzeria, and he said, hey, Jim, you want to be in the pizza business? I didn't like my job at that time. I said, yeah, what the heck? So we joined up and started in the pizzeria, and just once it got into my blood, that's it. You got to keep going. Sure. So we built a few restaurants on Long Island, and my kids, who started working with me when they were knee-high, peeling shrimp and doing dishes in the kitchen, grew up in it as well. That's how it began, and eventually we ended up down here in Tampa.
What point did you think to yourself, I am a restaurateur and I want to grow my restaurant business?
It's a great question. I still wonder that every day right now. But, well, Sam, you talk to a lot of people. Once it's in your blood, there's no change in it. The thrill, the dopamine that's released when you open a new concept, the excitement of guests coming in and smiling and loving what you're doing, it's hard to do anything else.
Sure. What prompted the move down here to Florida?
Well, so as my kids went to college and continued to work in the restaurants, we realized it was difficult to afford to live in New York. Mm-hmm. So I think Jason, my oldest, was the first one to say, I'm out of here. And he came down here. His wife had a job at HSN at that point. And he came down, and then followed by another brother and followed by another brother. And they said, Dad, this is a great place to do restaurants, man. I see a lot of potential. So I came down, me and the wife took a look, said, we like it. My daughter, we said, you're going to UCF. Mm-hmm. Let's make the move. And we did. And it's been great.
Well, all of us native Northerners, once you come here and discover the weather, it's
Absolutely.
kind of hard to say no
No.
to
It is.
that. Yeah.
Nobody likes shoveling.
Nope, not at all.
I mean, we say on a 80-degree December day currently, so I could deal with that. Okay, so then what was the impetus of Pineapple Hospitality specifically? What was your first restaurant down here?
So the first one down here was a place called Chico's Grill in a neighborhood, West Chase, where I actually live now. And it was out of business. We saw a sign on it that's closed for hurricane, and the hurricane was like 3 months before. So we said, I don't think they're coming back.
Right.
Called the landlord, work out a deal, and opened up our first one there. And it was kind of a taco joint. And it was great. It was nearby to where we all lived, and that began our Florida journey.
Okay. And what's the scope of everything today? What it encompasses Pineapple Hospitality? What are the restaurants and the concepts?
So right now we have 5 stores. The 6th is being built as we speak here today. So there's 2 Craft Streets, one that you're sitting in now, one also up in Trinity. We have Shaker and Peel, which is right across the parking lot here, which is kind of a chef-driven taco joint. We have Zimzari, which is also up in Trinity. Over in Carrollwood, which is probably about 20 minutes away from here, also in Tampa, is also a chef-driven taco joint with an emphasis on agave spirits.
Okay, I sense a theme there in tacos. Jess, let's go to you now, because as the chef, the head of the culinary for this business now, tacos are king down in Florida, right? I mean, like tacos, you got to have a taco place, right? But tell me about like the sort of the tastes and flavors of this area in general that you guys are trying to bring into the business.
Yeah, I think tacos are a great vessel, right, to kind of explore more creativity than your classic street tacos. I think it's a fun way to kind of get people outside the box. Tacos are foundation, but they're approachable.
Mm-hmm.
But what spin can we put on them? And that's really what Shaker and Peel and Agave Social are. It's taking the taco, but it's just flipping it and making it a little bit more chefy and modern and fun, and elements that maybe someone wouldn't want to try, but they would be willing to try because it's in a taco.
Right. How would we describe the demographic of this area? I mean, Tampa, obviously a huge city, probably a lot of tourists, but also a lot of just residential people who are here. What do people here like to eat?
I think in the pocket we're in, my parents live across the street from here, so I think when I'm talking to them and what they're really loving, they have been fans of this company for years, as have I. So I think, what to expect from a craft street is your very comfort American food, just done a little differently and done well. Whereas across the street, it's really more chefy, more pushing the envelope.
Mm-hmm.
But I think our consumers and our guests expect fun food, innovation, but just done well and consistent through quality ingredients.
Mm-hmm. And Jim, when you were starting these restaurants initially, what was going through your brain as to what this market needed and what you felt like this community wanted in a restaurant?
Well, Sam, if you see back above our pass-through in the kitchen, seriously fun food is written on the wall, right, for everyone to see. And that's the way we think about it. Is it's fun food, but we're very serious about how we produce it and ingredients we use. Another thing that I felt was missing here, and it's more and more every day, and I think that's why full-service restaurants are having a moment, is that uncommon hospitality. We tag that in all of our stores. That's what we want to deliver, is that guest experience that stands out from the chains, quite honestly.
Sure. I saw on your website, you've quoted, I believe it's Maya Angelou, who originally said that people will not remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. You guys have that on your website. What does that look like in practice?
So my theory is when a guest comes in, that first 90 seconds is incredibly important. So why are our hosts not engaging with the guests, right? Mm-hmm. It's like family here. Our guests are here sometimes 3 times a week, sometimes 4. They know everybody's names that work here. We know their names. So we engage with that guest. It's a connection that we make. So I think that's part of it, is how we make them feel. 2 months after they've left and had their dinner here, they'll remember how they felt, maybe more so than what they ate.
Right.
And that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Well, I think what you just said is so right about the full service sector today. Obviously the economy is in this awful place right now. Inflation's still high. People are pulling back on their spend. The last time this happened, we actually saw fast casual take off because people wanted value. Now it's a little different because people want value, but they see the value in the experience. Mm-hmm. So you guys seem to really lean into that. Tell me about how you are kind of embracing that mentality.
Well, what do you think value is, right? The denominator is the cost, but the numerator is so much more, right? It's not. I don't want to, although I do, and I think there's a place for it in the market. Ordering from a QR code, ordering from a kiosk, right? Ordering on your phone for drive-through or something like that. But the guest experience is, I think, what makes the value, right? We have amazing food. Jess is amazing. We've got great ingredients. Our kitchen pumps it out, and our plates are good, and there's great value in the price. But when you add on top of that the experience of having that hospitality, that uncommon hospitality, to me, that's what value is. And why do I want to drive through if I have the time to have a nice dinner with the family?
Sure. So creating that uncommon hospitality obviously is comes down to your people. So hiring and training critical to getting that right. Tell me about how you ensure your people at your concepts are providing that uncommon hospitality.
Wow, that's a great question, Sam. So it goes from front of the house and back of the house, right? So when Chef Jess walks into a kitchen, it's like, yeah, Jess is here, right? You don't want those restaurants in my old days when the chef walks in, it's like, oh, the chef is here.
Right.
So that's a big help there. And in the front, and you could train anyone steps of service, but when you're interviewing, they got to have hospitality in their bones, right? And I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
I want to build on that too. I truly do believe, though, it starts with Jim and his sons, right? The owners. I think him and then the leadership team. I think it's super powerful when you have the full leadership team on the same page with the same vision, the same values and cultures, speaking the same language. That's powerful.
Totally.
You know, I've been blessed and fortunate to have that a handful of times in my career, but not to this extreme that I have here.
Right.
I think we all care so much that's really the secret in our pineapple juice is just caring more than someone else does.
Sure.
And that passion, integrity, that will funnel down to our teams, and they're going to want to do that to their guests.
Right. Pineapple juice. I like that. You guys use that as a
metaphor
here. Okay. What is the pineapple juice? Tell me more about what that looks like.
You know, it's funny when you're working with a team like we're surrounded by here, you know, with in the individual stores, the four walls, and also above store as we go. It's that sense of when you walk into the place, it's, Sam, so good to see you. You know, can I get you started on something? You're usually drinking a Corona. Can I get you going on that? It's that sense of I know you, and I care about you, and I care about your time. You know, we've had families that started here when they were little kids as guests. They grew up and they started working with us, and now they're grown and they have their kids and they're coming in, and that's really cool. And they remember those special hospitality moments for sure.
Sure. I mean, everything we're talking about here too is culture, and I think the point you make, Jess, is that culture starts at the top and it trickles down. The word culture, I think, gets kind of overused and abused today, especially in larger organizations, just because they want to claim a culture, but culture is also hard to kind of really grasp that as a firm concept. But Jim, especially for you at the top, when you think about this term culture and the culture you want to have, I mean, you have a family business. Your kids are involved. To me, that must mean that like this is a family kind of culture, right? How would you describe it?
I'll describe it like this. So there's 21 of us that live down here between my kids, their spouses, and their kids, right? So when we get together, it's kind of amazing, Sam, that hospitality has been in their DNA. So when you walk into a house party that my family's there, you'll have 21 people saying, Sam, what can I get you? How you been, man? And that's great. So the fact that they have that, and then when you find people like Jess that have that in their bones already, that's how culture begins.
Sure.
And then everybody realizes it, and the ones that fit in grow. The ones that don't, maybe they get other jobs.
Right. Let's go back to the story of building this business. Remind me which concept was first. Was it Craft Street?
Down here, which we do not have it anymore, was we came down and we opened a place called Chico's Grill.
Okay.
So what we have here that we started a while ago, probably 15 years now, is Zimzari up in Trinity. That's probably the first one that's down here. And the latest one that just opened up is Agave and Roma Social, now being built in Trinity.
Roma Social. Tell me, social. I heard that word social. Tell me what that's going to be.
Wow. So we just did the design plans with our amazing designer yesterday. So we're working on the food service plans and the engineering and all of that. But it is a Italian that's unlike any other Italian down here. So the look, the feel, the smell, the sound, and the service is going to be a really fun Italian joint.
So, Jess, tell me about designing a menu for a spot like that.
Yeah. So from scratch, I'm so excited. I think the menu is going to read bones and foundation of Italian ingredients and cooking and the feel, but done in a fun way, more modern, more chefy. So where you might like a chicken piccata, it won't be labeled chicken piccata, but the lemon will be there, the capers, but maybe they're fried, and maybe we're using preserved lemon just to enhance it and just to set off a little bit. It's known flavors and you like it, but it's like, ooh, what is setting this apart than other Italian food, right? And we've been doing, I believe I'm on my version 8 right now of pizza dough. So when I say we care deeply, and we sit around, we talk, we split kiwi hairs, and that's the beauty of it, right? And we are in right now. We're in the process of creating the story for Roma Social. So that's the message we're going to give the guests, right? Like, wow, our owners and our chef care so deeply that it took 27 versions to create this dough because they wanted it to be the best, and it's going to be the Roma Social pizza that everybody needs to come and try.
Yeah,
because they care so much, and that's real, right? That's genuine. That's the message I guess when you hear.
I love what you just said about story, because restaurants are stories, right? And concepting a new restaurant, you do have to write a story in essence. From your perspective, Jess, you've been with a number of restaurant companies. I'm sure you've been a part of writing that story for restaurants before. What does writing a story for a restaurant look like, and how do you bring a story to life within the four walls?
I think for me, it's just really being true to who we are, right? I think sometimes in the larger companies I've worked at, there's sometimes a lot of marketing fluff, which I think is great, and if we need that to try and draw users in, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, I think the consumer is just much more savvy than they used to be. They want to hear what's in the sauce, right? Like, how do you make it? And they're just much more knowledgeable, so they'll call your bluff.
Right.
So that's why I think it's just important to just be real and be transparent, showing a little vulnerability, and that's okay. So for me, it is truly what I just said. It took the chef, 17 versions, whatever it is, whatever we land on, because people like that. That's interesting. That's what I want to hear when I go out.
Right.
I don't want to hear if it's not authentic or if it's not real. What was the process to get from 8 months to 6 months to 4 months? Because many people don't know what the behind the scenes, what it is to innovate, create a menu from scratch, and all the way through.
Yeah. Jim, this might be kind of beating a dead horse here, but like when I think of story, I mean, you have a rich story just in your history of opening restaurants, getting your family involved, having that uncommon hospitality. But you've designed and opened multiple concepts by now. What do you think are the ingredients to a great restaurant story?
It's funny because as we're designing Roma now, it's kind of just what we do, and we've never really written down how we do it. We just know that's the way we do it because we do it all the time. Like Jess is saying, it grows out of itself, the restaurant concept. So we'll start with the branding package, right? And we found this great branding person over in Colorado, and she's great, and she'll get it started. And then when we see the logo, and then when we see some branding, we get all energized again.
Yeah.
And then we'll work with the interior designer, and Jess has the menu, the version 1 of the menu together, and that gets us more excited. So this story develops itself as you go. And one point that Jess made is amazing, because I started in the pizza business, right? And we were talking about this the other day, is we were throwing a bag of Old Trump flour into the mixer and adding the water and the yeast and make the dough, and tomorrow you're making a pizza out of it. We've been studying dough science, which is, you can get your master's degree in that. It's insane. So all of a sudden, the hydration, the pH, the cold fermenting, it's wild, and it's exciting that we can create something so good after a lot of versions, but you're going to get to exactly what you're looking for. That's great.
Well, and as you guys would know, as well as anybody, to get customers to come back to your restaurant, the food has to be great. So if you settle for something not great, they're not going to come back, and you just had somebody try the restaurant and leave, you've lost the opportunity for a loyal guest. So going through 27 variations of something is worth it when it means how many loyal guests who are going to come back to get it, right?
Again, I think it just goes back to really caring, right? Caring more than the next person, that the restaurant over from us, just showing that we just care a little bit more, that we take the discipline to do that. Like, some people might just stop and say, it's good enough, but we don't settle for just good enough. So and this is the fun part too. It's just going back and forth. Jim and I text about the dough and hydration levels and the temperature of the water and this. And did you see this video? No, but this is great. So it's a collaboration with this group that's really powerful as well.
And I think too about this idea of a differentiator, because in the term that it has come up, maybe you've heard it a lot now too. Everybody keeps talking about this sea of sameness, and of course what they're referring to as everybody kind of races to that sort of least common denominator of offering the same thing that they all think the customer wants, and in that environment, the food's going to get kind of dumbed down, and so we see that like a lot of restaurants that are succeeding right now have leveraged food as a differentiator, which sounds crazy because in the restaurant industry, that's your product. Food should be the differentiator,
right,
but it's not always the thing. Maybe it's not always the priority for a lot of restaurants. So I think, Jess, especially from a chef perspective, how do you keep pushing and innovating to ensure you're leading with food and that it can be the differentiator?
Yeah, I think it's just taking past successes, right? What has performed well on our menu, and just listening to our guests as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in operations 5 days a week. I'm listening to guests, listening to servers. What do they like? What's missing? What are the gaps? What are the opportunities? And just seeing, balancing that versus the trends out there. In this space, I'm able to be much more creative and faster because our guests frequent us a lot, and they're wanting, our Blackboard specials rotate every 6 weeks. That's fast compared to what I'm used to. But they crave that. They want that because most of them have kind of eaten through our menu,
right,
and they're excited. They want to see what is new that they want to try.
So you opened Zimzari. Why didn't you just scale that concept? What went into the idea of I just want to open unique concepts?
So that's another great question. So you can, and some of my friends do that, and they rubber stamp it. But there's something. One, we like to grow in concentric circles. Right, so we can't put 2 restaurants in the same shopping center, and we do that all the time if it's the same concept, right? So, and the creativity, I mean, a great chef like Jess is going to want to be releasing that creativity. So a new concept just gets everybody pumped up. So that's kind of the reason why it keeps us excited.
Yeah, you are opening a second Craft Street though.
There is 2 already.
Oh, there's 2 already.
Sure.
Do you want to scale anything else?
Sure.
In your portfolio? Okay.
Sure, of course we will when the location's right, the deal is right, and we pretty much got one of every kind of concept.
Yeah.
And it's time to grow some of them.
So then growth could look like growing the portfolio together. You could go into a shopping center and say, I don't have just one restaurant for you. I have potentially 5 restaurants for you. Is that the mentality of growth for you?
That works. And we have landlords that have done that. They've contacted with the new shopping centers going up and saying, listen, I have these 3 spots. Are you guys interested in bringing these 3 concepts there? And it's always something to talk about. So, yeah, that is a possibility.
Sure. What sparks an idea for a new concept? This Roma Social, was it one day you're just like, Italian, I got it. How does that work?
This is going to sound funny. That's where I started, right?
Yep.
And I've always said, when I'm going to be done with this career and it's all handed down, is Italian would be the best way to end up. So that's always been in the back of my mind. But lately with this dough that we're working on, which is light yet crispy and it doesn't weigh you down, and digestively it's great. It's something new for pizza, man. I grew up in New York and pizza was just bought a Friday night, so you get pizza.
Yeah.
This pizza is so different and so incredibly delicious and more chef driven that I don't know, man. It's incredibly exciting.
Roma Social is full service too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Everything's full service in the portfolio?
Yes.
It seems like there must be some intent there. Why? Obviously we've talked about the hospitality component. Have you ever thought about opening something counter service to have some balance in the portfolio?
We have.
Okay.
We've came incredibly close, even right in this shopping center. But at the end of the day, Sam, it's what we know. We know we're good at it. We know how to do it. And our guests look forward to that. Our guests will eat at all of our restaurants, which is pretty crazy. They look forward to us doing something new.
Because I heard you have a great pizza, and I thought, oh, well, you got to run that out the back, delivery, right? Like maybe that's a part of Roma Social. I don't know. That's a free idea for you. You can have that. You mentioned guests, and it's interesting because for a multi-concept portfolio like Pineapple Hospitality, a lot of people probably don't even realize that all of your restaurants belong to the same group. But is there value to that? Is there a way you want your guests to know, hey, these, we have multiple concepts and you like both of these? Well, they come from the same place. Do you try to leverage that at all with the guests to try to, have them understand that these are all under the same roof?
We probably do more so now than we have in the past, although we don't push it, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we're on the suburbs, right? We're in the suburbs and they're local communities, and we do grow concentric circles from the center. People just know that. I think there is value in that because just the other day on a post on one of the chats in one of the neighborhoods, it's like, oh, they're opening Roma Social. They're great. I love everything they do. The chef is amazing. So there's definitely value in it.
Mm-hmm. Because I think too about going back to this concept of story, which is that there are audiences to stories, and you can have audiences for each of your unique concepts, but maybe there's more power in the audience to the broader story Pineapple Hospitality is trying to tell. If we go back to just the menu for a second, though, Jess, are there ways in which are there sort of common touches across the concepts that you can bring to each one that says, like, that's the Pineapple Hospitality sort of touch? Maybe it's pineapple juice. What is the way you can tell a story across the concepts through the menu so that they kind of understand this is all part of one story?
I think Jim hit on it earlier. It's just seriously fun food,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not taking ourselves too seriously, not taking the menu too seriously. It's just doing each dish well and being mindful and intentional with how we're doing it and how we're executing it. Again, it's just putting twists on classic dishes. I mean, that's what it is in our taco locations. It's just putting those little twists. It's is it being borderless cuisine where it's Spanish and Korean, right?
Mm-hmm.
And mixing those two together to create something. So probably the same will be similar vein for Roma Social. It's, can we cross, what does Italian and Indian look like, or Italian and in the Midwest fusion look like?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just that's kind of the theme for these locations. It's just
Sure.
being fun with the food and putting our unique twist on it.
Okay. Let's talk about challenges. Restaurant industry is in a pretty tough spot right now, as we're talking about. I'm sure you're not immune to labor and food costs and all of that, but Jim, you've been in this industry for a long time now. How would you sort of diagnose this state of things for restaurants today and how it's affected your portfolio?
So challenging is a great word, but who's not up for a challenge that's in the restaurant business?
Yeah.
It's what we do, right? It's
Yeah.
Things change every day,
Uh-huh.
and you just keep going. It's probably part of what keeps it so exciting and,
Mm-hmm.
and desirable for us. The challenges are always the same. I mean, you can look back through history. There's always challenges. So you just kind of put your head down and plow through it and figure it out. And like you said before, if the value is there for the guest,
Mm-hmm.
you really don't have to worry. And thank God that we don't have to worry.
I love your optimism. Oh, wow, that's refreshing. I don't get a lot of that from a lot of restaurateurs lately. So then how do you think about growth? Because, it's been interesting the last few years. I think the whole industry has said, oh, well, next year will be better. Well, next year will be better. We've been saying that for 5 years. So to the point where I'm like, I genuinely don't know if 26 is going to be better. I don't know. Hopefully, I mean, it can't get too much worse.
Right.
But when you think about how much do you look into the future, I guess, in terms of this business and where you want it to go?
So I think me particular, is always 6 months out. I'm always looking 6 months, right?
Okay.
Where are we going to be in 6 months? What do we need to do for the next 6 months? And I think we're going to be fine, right? And I think keeping it exciting for the guests is what solves it all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it as a problem at this point.
You don't feel a pressure to, a lot of restaurants right now are feeling this pressure to, got to discount. We've got to, do some crazy promotion to get their attention. There's a lot of knee-jerk reactions going on right now. Do you feel like you're a little bit protected from that?
A little bit. And I've never had knee-jerk reactions work out well for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like to rather think through it and plan. So what we do, Sam, and it's worked for us for decades, back during recessions and all of that, is we've had deal days, right? So if you're on a tight budget, which
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people out there are, there'll be days that you can come into our restaurants and get a deal, whether it's on a burger or a flatbread or Taco Tuesday. So there always are those options.
Mm-hmm.
Not a coupon fan at all. I don't want to cheapen what we do.
Yeah.
But we'll make a great day that you can come in and enjoy yourself.
Sure. Jess, from a menu perspective, you see a lot of menu innovation out there today because of that idea of like we want to wow the customer and get their attention.
Yep.
Is that on your mind as a chef and developing menu items? Are you like, I got to get their attention through menu, or again, do you not feel that kind of pressure?
I do to a certain extent, but I
Mhm.
think, you kind of nailed it. I was going to bring it up is I've been here for 6 months, and the great thing about Jim and the team is that they don't do knee-jerk reactions
Mhm.
because we stay true to who we are. and what we believe in, and stick to that. And it's all about the guests, all about the guest experience and putting them first, and our team members. So as far as when I'm kind of going through innovation, like I said, our specials rotate every 6 weeks. So that's great. We have that following, we have that. And usually there's 3 items on that board, and 2 out of the 3 are going to be, bold. They're going to be super innovative, creative. And then maybe the last one's more well-known that I've seen that has performed well in the past. Maybe I'm just putting like a twist on it. Okay.
Are there any trends that you see in menu today that are particularly exciting to you, or trends that you see that are hot right now but are don't think are going to stick around?
Yeah, I think I can kind of lean more into those kind of TikTok trends here. Just previously I probably couldn't because they're more flash in the pan and working so far a year out. But here we can kind of flex those muscles more, and maybe our guests will enjoy that. So that's the fun of it. I think as a whole, guests are really just wanting more global flavors, which is awesome. They're really leaning in. It's been, I think, 6 to 12 months. The past it's been all about Asian flavors, which is amazing. More so than just Chinese or Japanese, right? We're really leaning into the Indians, the curries, and more bold like spices, right? So I think that's a fun realm to be in.
I totally agree with that. My suspicion is that for the next 5 years, I think Asian flavors are going to be like the number one thing that we see in new concept development and new menus.
Absolutely.
And global flavors in general. Again, going back to the idea of differentiating your menu, I think global flavors are a natural way to do that.
Yeah, and again, it's where someone maybe would be apprehensive about getting a full bowl of curry, but can we take that flavor profile, spices, ingredients, and put it in a taco or put it on a flatbread? Or it's like, okay, I'm comfortable with the flatbread, but there's butter chicken on it, right? There's there's all these other ingredients where it's going to be more approachable.
Yeah, there's a lot of Indian pizza out there today.
It's
an interesting trend that's going on.
I'm here for it, though.
I was going to say, I'm like, why didn't we put those two things together a long time ago?
Nobody thought of it.
Yeah.
Nobody thought of it. Okay, so again, going back to this concept of you have multiple concepts in the portfolio. Obviously, the growth element, going into a development with multiple concepts is an advantage. What other advantages do you see in having 4 or 5 brands in your portfolio, and how you can each of them can kind of support each other in unique ways?
Well, that's awesome. And this is kind of the growth story. So when we first starting out, it was me and the boys, and we'd be in the restaurant and we'd do everything, right? But you can't do that as you get multiple units. It's impossible. So developing above store, right, with Tyler, who's back there, and Jess, and our pastry chef, Monica, and Harmony, the beverage director. As we take off some hats and put it on other people, that's what becomes exciting. So that's, I think, what helps us grow it, is that there's multiple minds thinking about what's next, how do we do it, and I can be more focused on this lane because I don't have 10 lanes.
Sure. Something I imagine you're thinking a lot about is a question I ask a lot of people these days, especially leaders of companies, which is, what do you hope your legacy to be? What are you? I mean, you this is a family business, and so clearly you've gotten your family involved. What do you hope the Jim Rehm story is going to be when all is said and done?
Wow. So it's so exciting for me now, Sam, that I have 2 granddaughters and 1 grandson that kind of dabble in the restaurant business, and the way the restaurant business works, the way I've seen it, and especially with my kids as well, is, no, I don't ever want to do that. I don't want to do what Dad does. All of a sudden they're doing what Dad does, and it's like, well, I kind of really dig this. I'm going to do this, and that'll happen. That's the legacy. Is what can you guys do with it now?
All right, last question. I'll ask the same question for both of you. Jess, we'll start with you. What is the thing you're most excited about for the future of the restaurant industry, and how you can apply that thing to Pineapple Hospitality?
I can't pinpoint when or why, but I felt there was a shift of going, consumers, guests are really wanting to go back to their local community, kind of smaller operations, chef driven. They're just craving that again, whether it's just something exciting, something new, whether it's through the menu with innovation, feeling just more hospitality and service forward. So I'm excited we're kind of making that shift again. Yeah. Because that's where I started my career. I started in an independent restaurant, very chef driven, with no recipes. The chef would just give me a list of ingredients. I would just put it together, and somehow it would be consistent or not, depending on who would make it. So for me, this is just so it's really special for me to make a full circle and to be with this group. I just want to reiterate how powerful it is to have all of our team, the leadership team, on the same page, walk in the same direction with the same vision. Now we might have our moments where we don't argue, but we'll debate, and I love a healthy debate. So, but we care deeply, So I think we have a powerful momentum, and I'm so excited for this run with social opening. I think it's going to be very, very unique in that area, and the menu's going to be craveable. That's what we're going for. We really want guests to look at that menu and be like, wow, I don't even know what to order, so I'm just going to get something in every category. That's the goal, right? Mm-hmm. It's like this more of this social eating experience and blowing up their Instagram about it. And it has to come back. Oh, I want to try one of each flavor next time I'm here. Sure. Like, we just want to create that buzz.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree with you about the pendulum coming back. I think that's 100% happening. Jim, final word. What's most exciting for you about the future of the industry and how it will come to life here at Pineapple Hospitality?
Well, ditto on everything that Jess said, because I think we all agree on that 100%. But as I look into the future, I mean, AI is becoming a huge part of everything we do. I'm using it all the time. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This is sending me a lot of time. However, and I see my grandkids that are on their phones all the time, I think the time is coming in the not too distant future that people want to put those phones away and have real experiences. Yeah. So to have a real experience to me is going out with the family, sitting down, we could actually talk across the table and be served. And it is about servant leadership for us, for our team, and for our guests. So that's where I see everything going eventually is enough with this tech. It's great behind the scenes, but I don't want it in front of me if I'm a guest.
Sure. That's great. I hope we can get there.
I think
I'm less optimistic maybe about that, but I hope that we can get there.
I don't want a robot waiting on me.
I totally agree with that. Well, Jim, Jess, appreciate your time. Thanks, guys, so much.
Sam.
It's great. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. That was my interview with Pineapple Hospitality Group's Jim Rehm and Jessica Tomlinson. So what should you learn from this interview? Here are my 5 takeaways. My first takeaway is that people remember how you made them feel more than what you said. This is a famous Maya Angelou quote, and I love it. I've lived by this for many years myself. Pineapple Hospitality Group believes in this so much that they have this on their websites. Really one of their values, this idea that you have to make your guests feel great. No matter what, if they walk out feeling great, they will probably come back. They may not even remember what they ordered or what they ate or who they were with, but they remember how they felt. In restaurants, this can be done through ambiance, design of a restaurant, the music played, but of course through the hospitality. Pineapple Hospitality Group is so committed to this uncommon hospitality, as they call it, that they truly believe the interaction between their team and the employees is really the most important way to make a guest feel great, and the most important way you can ensure guests are going to come back. They believe in their guests being like family, and that really has to come through the employees and the interactions they have with them, that uncommon hospitality, that ability to make them feel good. My second takeaway is that the first 90 seconds that a guest is in your restaurant are among the most important. So this is related to this idea of uncommon hospitality. But I really love how Jim framed that, which is, of course, we all can agree that it's important that your team gives great hospitality to your guest. But he takes this a step further, and he says that first 90 seconds, they walk in your door, they interact with the host, and they're waiting for a table or they're led to the table. But in those 90 seconds, they are creating their first impression. And first impressions can be everything, as you know. In that first impression, through your team, you have the ability to set the stage for what is to come, the great food, the great hospitality, the great experience. But if in that first 30 seconds, they get a bad impression, even if they get great food, even if they get great hospitality the rest of the way, that can stick with them. Again, going back to that Maya Angelou quote about, guests remembering how you made them feel, not necessarily what you said. So treat those first 90 seconds that a guest are in your restaurant very, very seriously. Make sure it's one of the best experiences they have, among the highlights of their entire experience with you. And Jim threw out some examples of what that looks like too. He really believes in that sort of Cheers-like mentality, a mentality of where everybody knows your name. He used the example of how employees are empowered to really remember guests' name, maybe grab them a drink while they're waiting, doing whatever it takes to create that great experience. Maybe you can't do all of that in the first 90 seconds, but your team should be trained to really capitalize on those 90 seconds, to really prioritize those 90 seconds and set the stage for that great experience. My third takeaway is that great hospitality starts at the job interview. That was something else Jim was talking about, this mentality of, of course, if your employees are going to be empowered to give this great hospitality, if you're entrusting them with that experience, the power of really, creating a loyal guest through that great hospitality, you have to hire employees who know how to give great hospitality. And that's why Jim said it starts at the job interview. He said he wants to see employees come in and he wants to see hospitality in their bones. You do have to hire for that. You can train it to some degree, but you really need to find that person at the job interview. If you see that they may have hospitality in their bones, maybe you can overlook a few other things. Obviously, we all know how the labor pool looks today. But don't be too desperate. Try to find these people who you think can at least treat your guests well and create that great experience and make them feel good, as we've been talking about this whole time. If you can do that, if you see that in the job interview, maybe move them along. Maybe give them some more priority over other employees, because that employee could be critical to creating a great experience. My fourth takeaway is that when launching a new concept, you're writing a new story to share with your guests. So I caught Jim and Jessica at this fun time. They're getting ready to launch this new concept called Roma Social, this pizza concept. And they were in the midst of designing the menu, coming up with the new brand. They clearly were having a lot of fun with it. And Jessica was the one, I think, who really started by saying that, they see this process as writing a story. Now, look, I'm a trained journalist. I love to do creative writing on the side. I love the idea of a restaurant as a story. This really ticks a lot of boxes for me. But it is so true, isn't it, that when you develop a new concept, you can't just come up with a name and a brand and a menu and call it a day. You have got to breathe life into that restaurant. You have to give it personality and identity. You have to write its story. That may be, by the way, actually writing a story. Maybe that's where you start when you're developing a new concept. Write a little story about, an event that takes place there, or, a fictional founder of this restaurant. What would they look like? How would they be? What would this restaurant be like if, certain kind of person owned it, started it? This is a really cool idea of bringing brand to life. And I loved that notion of story in restaurant. What does that look like for you? If you're developing restaurants as part of a portfolio, or if you're thinking about starting a new concept, maybe you should start, the menu, the brand, the design, all of these things. Maybe you should start by writing the story and then letting that story kind of lead the way. My fifth and final takeaway is that a multi-concept portfolio will allow your team's creativity to flourish. So again, Jessica, I've known Jessica for a long time from other companies. And what I always love when I interact with chefs, because you can see creativity just oozes out of them, right? Chefs, of course, I myself in this industry believe that food is art and chefs are artists, right? And whenever you're in the kitchen with chef, which I've had the pleasure to be in many kitchens with many different chefs, and you watch them create a new dish, it is truly art. These are creatives at work. And you could see and hear this in Jessica in this interview, that idea of as they're developing this Roma Social concept, see that creativity in the way they're approaching the menu. But I like this idea too, that, it's not just the chef, it's your entire team. And Jim kind of alluded to that, this idea of like the creativity in your team, bringing it out of them, that, you have folks in your existing restaurants who have other ways of being creative. And when you bring a new brand to life, that creativity can come to life in your front of house. It can come to life even in dishwashing. It can come to life in your service. Whatever that is, tap into your team and their creativity and use that to develop the new concept if that's the route you're going, because you might surprise yourself. When you make that a team activity, really good things can happen. Those are all my takeaways for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please remember to subscribe to Takeaway wherever you listen to podcasts and leave some feedback. You can also email me at sam.oches@informa.com. Thanks again, and talk to you next week.